welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 238. Hello, Schmello. Breaking news. I feel like there was back-to-back news regarding this Jonathan Majors situation, and I am all for recognizing when the initial news wasn't accurate or when it's immediately been recanted. I think that deserves the same amount of press just as the initial news received. So let's talk about the initial news. In case you were not made familiar, Jonathan Majors, he's an actor, black man. He starred in Lovecraft Country. He was in Creed 3. He is just a very well constructed actor. I feel like I think he really takes his roles seriously and he really engages in his character just portrayals. So I think I really admire his work. He does a really great job. He's been receiving more press and notoriety lately. He's about to be he is in the upcoming movie Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. And so he's gaining a lot of momentum. He was on the Essence magazine cover and he wore this, I think it was in reference to an anime character. I'm not big on anime, so please forgive me. But because of his stance and the colors that he was wearing, it was more of a feminine stance. And his face, now some people feel like he like purses his lips on purpose, or that he like just, I don't know, like he always looks swollen, right? But I hate that people say that about him because it's not about him looking swollen. That's his natural features as a black man. You know, he has a wide nose, he has thick lips, he has full cheeks. This is the natural aesthetic of many black men. My father has a big nose. I get my big nose from my dad, so I really take offense when people try to like come at him because of his big nose. Like, what the fuck? What's wrong with the big nose? I can smell anything. When I tell you a mile a minute, a mile away, I can smell anything. So shout out to my dad. But no, anyway, yeah. So I really admire his male. I feel like when you have like strong features on your face, you know, like maybe big ears, big lips, big nose, it's a good sign. And I'm not trying to come off crass, right? Like, oh, that means you have a big dick, right? The whole like big hands, big dick. I mean, I don't know how verifiable that is as far as, because I don't know. I haven't like assessed men by their hand size, you know? Anyway, so, but I just feel like overall, when a man has a big feature on their face, and I'm including the ears as part of that, then that's a good sign that they're men. What do I mean? No, it's a good sign that they're just a manly man, that they're very much they have this strength, they have this strong character about themselves. That's really typically what I've noticed. Like if you have big ears, if you have big nose or big lips or shit, all three, it's a good sign. It's a good sign, I feel like. Anyway, nonetheless, so he was arrested as of the time of this recording. He was arrested in New York after a domestic dispute, according to police and several articles that have been immediately published right after this arrest. And this woman, a 30-year-old woman, and Jonathan Majors, he's 33. So a 30-year-old woman has reported to the police that she was assaulted by Jonathan Majors, and she was allegedly assaulted. You know, I gotta say that. And she claims that allegedly he struck her about the face with an open hand, causing substantial pain and a laceration behind her ear. And a criminal complaint was filed in the incident alleges. Let's see. She also alleged Majors grabbed her hand and put his hands on her neck, causing swelling, bruising, and substantial pain to her neck and hand. Major's attorneys denied the allegations, saying the evidence would prove the actor is innocent. He vehemently denies such claims. And it says here, quote, "We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped imminently. Ugh, hard word. Let's see. So people are so quick to be like, oh, he did it. He did that shit. Oh my gosh. I knew there was something about him. He gave off this weird energy. And I never took his energy as weird because I like that serious strength, that calm strength that men like him possess. And he presents that very clearly. I think when he is asked about a role that he just portrayed in a show or a movie, he really takes it seriously, and he really talks about how he embraces a character from the depths of the soul and really goes in. Like, he's not just some flippant actor who just happened to get some luck. He really has taken his craft seriously. Okay, so it's so interesting how the media have yet to publish, because I'm literally on Google right now, have yet to publish that the victim recanted. Okay? The victim recanted her allegations. So let's read this, what I found. Okay. Jonathan Majors was arrested Saturday in New York on charges of strangulation, assault, and harassment. The actor maintains his innocence. An attorney for Jonathan Majors has claimed that the woman who accused him of assault has recanted her allegations in writing after the actor was arrested this weekend. Now, I want to know what she said in her recant specifically. And people are quick to be like, oh, well, she recanted because she was coerced to do so. You know, she was made to feel guilty, and doesn't mean that she wasn't a victim. And I think I think she's actually a white woman, which shouldn't even, I'm tired of always having these like conversations, but like it does play a factor. Okay, so here's what we have here. Apparently there is video footage, but it's not shown to the public yet. But the attorney for Jonathan Majors claims that the video footage will show what happened and witness statements, and the woman herself has 2 written statements recanting the allegations. So let's see here. This evidence includes video footage from the vehicle where this episode took place, witness testimony from the driver and others who both saw and heard the episode, and most importantly, 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. So, I mean, look, the attorney is sounding really ballsy, right? Like, big guy, trust me, he's innocent, and it's not by word of mouth. It's actually by evidence that's tangible, evidence that cannot be refuted. And I really just want to speak to the fact that you have this black actor who, I knew him before he has recently been receiving this momentum of his, which is well deserved. I'm so proud of the widespread attention that he's receiving. But unfortunately, with that widespread attention, with that increase in popularity, there is typically a case like this that comes about. Whenever a black man in media, whether it's in whatever aspect, whether it's in acting, comedy, whatever it is, in music, you have oftentimes the same tale of a domestic violence dispute or what, or, an alleged domestic violent dispute, or something alleging to sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, etc. And I just find that to be very coincidental. Like, why is it always on time like this? Why can't he just receive more popularity and not be a target for this type of scarlet letter? Because unfortunately, regardless of the woman recanting her statement, her allegations in two written statements, regardless of the video footage that proves that Majors did not do what was alleged, and regardless of, just tangible evidence just in general, this will be attached to him. And now people will just take what they want to take from it to purposely tear down his image because, oh, he had weird energy during an interview. Like, what is a weird energy? Oh, I never liked the way he looked at people. He just always looked too serious. I think because he's a man's man, but I think he's also comfortable in his like expression or his vulnerability, and which is why when he wore that, when he's on that cover of Essence, and people were looking at his attire like, oh well, he looks like he's wearing a long skirt and looked like he's pursing his lips. I didn't really take it too far because I felt like the people who are judging him now, they don't know him before now. Like, I studied this man when when Lovecraft Country was on. I was such a huge fan of the show that I really took time to really pay attention to each character. It just was so well done. So well done. And I really just was moved by his performance. And I think people don't recognize that this is his job. He takes it seriously. And it's not about him just being this loosey-goosey and, he just happens to make it. Like, I think he's really sensitive about his craft. So I just never took it as him trying to play the part of someone wanting more attention. Like, I think he just confident who he is. Like, I didn't take it as, oh, another black man being feminized. Anyway, child, God bless. I don't think he did what is alleged. I think maybe there was an incident of him arguing with this woman, and she was, because apparently in her statement, I can't find the statement, or I'm actually not even looking for it, but from what I was hearing from other people's videos, from what I caught on and other people's tweets, is that she was having an emotional crisis. She was having an emotional crisis, and she was she was just in this moment of despair. So what do you do when you're in that moment? You do things that you probably wouldn't have done if you was in a better mindset. And unfortunately, when you're in emotional crisis, you will react with more hysteria. And she took to the obvious of, let me go ahead and call the police on this guy. Now, though he was arrested, though she recanted, and there's strong evidence that proves the allegations otherwise, proves that he did not do what she alleged, the state still wants to move forward in trying him in court. And the next court session for him to attend for this case is in May. So now he has to wait until May to finally get this sorted out, and hopefully it could be just dismissed. But that's just the thing. Like, you have, look, there's all this evidence that proves otherwise, that I did not do what was said, just let this shit go. But no, you want to be a little BI, and now I have to wait until May to then possibly resolve it, or it could get further. You know, like if someone decides to recant, especially immediately, it's not like she waited and she waited past a deadline and she can't recant anymore, or her recant doesn't stand. This happened literally back to back. Like as soon as I heard about this arrest, I want to say 2 hours later, I heard that she recanted, and there's strong evidence that proves he did not do what she said. Then this should just all be dismissed. The arrest should be expunged. I know he's obviously above age, but still, like, you can't have now, like, this is on his record, right? Now you have a little smudge next to his name because of this woman who was in a quote emotional crisis, end quote. Like, what does that even mean? Why were you in an emotional crisis? What took place between the two of them for her to feel like this was the next result? And again, when you're in an emotional crisis, you're not in the right head of, not in the right head frame. You're not thinking clearly. I think I go through emotional crisis not every day, but a couple times a week. But God damn. Anyway, God bless. I hope things get figured out. I really feel sorry. I really think he's one of our great actors in this generation. And so I just feel protective over that. Like, I think we should protect him at all costs. And it's just disappointing that just when he's getting more notoriety, more fame, and just more respect for his craft, boom, you have this allegation, and when people like to be quick to say, oh, you're an apologist for a domestic violent person, you're an apologist for them, because why wouldn't you immediately believe her, huh? And even if she recanted, doesn't mean that she wasn't a victim still, doesn't mean that she wasn't forced. And it's like, okay, but let's talk about the times, because there's been plenty of times in which women have not been honest and forthcoming, and instead of being just as loud about your alleged happenings with this person, you have to be just as loud with the fucked up thing that you did in your emotional crisis. Like, we have to hold these women accountable who like to play in the faces of real women who were victimized by men, And so, like, there's two categories here. The category one is, okay, real women who were really in situations in which they were victimized by men. And then category two is women who take advantage of those real experiences and lie about being victimized because they are in any of these factors, in emotional crisis, and that includes being jealous, being petty, being upset over said man, being in a new relationship, and wanting revenge, right? So, like, you have these two different categories, and there's not enough respect to the reality of both of them happening. Like, two realities are a possibility, okay? And I just don't believe, with all of the evidence said that conflict with her initial allegations, I don't believe that she was telling the truth. So God bless. I hope he could get out of it. I hope people in this day and age can look at more than one piece of reference, or just one side of the matter, and give people a fair shot. Because that's not right. That's not right. So let's get into this next topic here. I am noticing a change in the pendulum. A change in the pendulum is happening, and I am noticing more people in more states and more groups of people being vocal about the absurdity of gender affirming for minors, as well as trans people being in the sport group that they identify in. Because again, you're erasing real women, you're taking away from their experiences, and you're continuing, like, misogyny strikes again, right? I just became aware of this bicyclist or this cyclist who was the winner amongst the women in the group, is an all women cyclist, and he's a man, he's a trans woman, okay? And he won first place, and it's like, what about the actual women who were in the group and had no fighting chance to compete with a man? However he identified, he's a man biologically. So there is just naturally differences and advantages between a biological man and a biological woman. Like, that's not, like, can we stop? Can we cut the shit? You know, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, child, Missouri restrict gender affirming care for minors. Shout out to fucking Missouri. Missouri's Republican Attorney General says his office will limit access to gender affirming care for minors. As hundreds of activists rallied at the Capitol to pressure lawmakers to act on the bill, Attorney General Andrew Bailey announced plans to file an emergency rule. The rule will require an 18-month waiting period, 15-hour-long therapy sessions, and treatment of any mental illnesses before Missouri doctors can provide that kind of care to transgender children. I mean, that's perfect. Maybe not perfect, but that's better. That's much better than immediately. I was listening to a podcast a while ago, and she had someone on who regrets transitioning, and she's trying to find ways to revert. However, I don't know, but God bless, child. But she regrets transitioning, and she talks about her experience, how easy it was for her to transition medically, surgically at her minor age. She said something to her counselor about it. Her counselor was so quick to affirm her, and of course her parents were not in favor of it, but the messaging that is going out to parents is, wouldn't you want in a live trans girl than a dead boy? Meaning, like, the only way you will have your child alive is if she transitions to the gender that she feels most identified with. And of course, you have a parent who is so bombarded with the emotion of, wait, I don't want my child to die. I don't want her to feel lonely and so downtrodden. So I'm going to support her or him, and I'm going to figure it out. And, you know, and so she ended up so she saw a doctor. Mind you, this was during, I think it was during COVID, because it was a virtual meeting with her doctor. She had one virtual meeting with the doctor, and it was like 15 minutes. And then the doctor prescribed her with whatever it was that she needed to gender block. And so she got her gender block pills and started the process of blocking her gender block. I don't think it's called puberty blockers. Yeah. So she got that, and it's like, wait, what? It was literally just like that, and just like that. Shout out to that show. I hope another season is premiering shortly. But literally, and just like that, the bitch, you know, is now a man, or the bitch is a woman, and it's like, wait, what? These are life altering decisions, and it is very important to go through a rigorous period that challenges this impulsive thought of, I need to cut my dick off, I need to get a neo vagina, I need to cut my breasts off, you know? So I think the 18-month waiting period should be enough time to hopefully make them change their minds, one, but just make them realize, hey, I'm going through something called gender dysphoria, and instead of affirming it, I need help to not give these voices in my mind, or these thoughts that aren't mine, any power or dominance over me. Because that's really what it is. You know, we live in a time in which we're bombarded with these comparison tactics. How can I compare my life to X, Y, and Z? Someone who I don't even know personally, but I see them all the time on my feed. You know, this influencer culture. And I am feeling inadequate. Maybe I'm not a girl. Maybe I'm not a girl. Maybe I'm not, you know. So now you have these thoughts that just bum rush your thoughts, your mind, and you're becoming a shell of yourself. And you are susceptible to these thought processes of gender dysphoria. Here's a quote from Bailey's office. I am dedicated to using every legal tool at my disposal to stand in the gap and protect children from being subject to inhumane science experiments. I really appreciate that. Shout out to Bailey for having the courage to stand tall in this, because it's not about being hateful or discriminatory or just like, you know, being in the way of the way you want to live your life. I think it's about being the protector as an adult when you're around kids. You know, since when do kids get to determine life altering decisions? Since when do kids know what the fuck to do? And I'm not saying kids are dumb all the time, but I think there's a purpose of a parent. There's a purpose of adults, right? It is to guide children, or, well, specifically parents, but typically if you're an adult, a good-hearted adult, and you're in the presence of children who you have to care for, you care for them, right? And you block out any opportunity of harm. This is harm. This is self-harm. When we affirm any gender that a child wants to become, because, oh, they're having a shitty day, or, oh, they're having these long withstanding thoughts that have never been psychoanalyzed, that have never been tested by a professional, then we're quick to destroy their life. Because when I was listening to that podcast, this woman, I forget, I think she was a man who turned into a woman and wants to go back, or vice versa. Nonetheless, but she was saying how she regrets it, that she wish it wasn't as easy as it was for her to transition, and she wanted to figure out ways to revert. And she's going about this process by helping others and being just this warning label for children across the world, across America, who may have been who is currently struggling with what she has struggled with. Because these things like this is not an easy fix, and you could really change your life, you know, and the opportunity of bearing children could be snatched away from you because you have these medical companies, these pharmaceutical companies who see you as a cash opportunity, right? I'm going to keep on having you attached to the drugs, the prescriptions that I have you on. It's never going to get better, right? Because if I approve you, if I affirm you for what you think you are, okay, that means you're going to always have to get this drug. So you're always going to have to pay this pharmaceutical company. You're always going to have to be in alignment with them. So if we just have to stop it. Just fucking stop it. While puberty blockers and hormones often prescribed in transgender treatment are not FDA approved for transgender care, they are used in those cases, quote, off-label, which is an accepted and permitted practice. Like, how is it suddenly acceptable to permit drugs that are not FDA approved just because, oh, well, the kid feels like she's a girl, she's a boy, so now we're totally erasing the standards of consumption for this trendy ass idea of wanting to switch shit up gender wise. This is not the first time Bailey has weighed in on transgender healthcare since taking office in January. He announced an investigation of a transgender youth clinic in St. Louis run by Washington University following allegations of abuse by a former employee. My God. He asked the university to shut down the clinic, but it refused. Yeah. So God bless. I think this is a shift in the tide. I feel like there are more people in positions of power, or just in general, because even if you don't have this, quote, position of power of being a governor or a mayor, you have a position of power because you are a human being. Your voice matters. And so when you are proudly and respectfully, of course, there's a way to respectfully denounce such practices, and still standing strong on that, so I really appreciate, just in the last episode when I talked about that hockey player who stood strong on his personal beliefs. Like, look, I respect all people, right? But I'm not gonna wear this label because this goes against my personal convictions, and that matters as well. Like, we cannot just one way of thinking while saying, oh, well, we affirm all people, we're inclusive. How are you inclusive but you exclude an opposing thought? Are you only inclusive for people who think like you? You want to have an echo chamber? Because that's not what you preach. So again, I really hope that more and more people continue to speak out on absurd trends and movements and just the bullshit that is attacking our children. Our children are not being protected, and I just feel like, my God, today, I don't know, I don't know how some parents just sit back and be not as vocal about it. I feel like that light-skinned black girl who is so pro-black, and it feels like she has to compensate because of her light skin in her blackness, so that's why she's so pro-black, right? I feel like that when it comes to these topics about transgender and gender affirming for minors and stuff like that, because I feel like, obviously I don't have children of my own, but damn, like, I'm mad for these parents. I'm mad just like watching this, and I also want to give it some grace too, because I think there are many parents, of course, who are just figuring out day by day just ways to support their household, right? So maybe they're not equipped with all of the knowledge that's going on about the laws when it comes to gender affirming centers for youth. Maybe they don't know the curriculum that their child is being exposed to at school. Maybe they don't know that you have schools who are affirming this bullshit, and they just, oh, I just dropped my child off of school, that's it, right? They do enough to get by because they're just so busy working and taking care of their household and their bills and all these things. And I don't want to shame parents for that, because it's a lot, right? It's a lot balancing parenting, working, and especially if you're doing it on your own. So I do want to give grace to parents, but I also just feel like you have to protect your child, your children. You have to protect them, and that means being involved. That means attending PTA meetings. That means knowing what the fuck is your child exposed to. Let me get an advance on the curriculum. Let me get an advance on the quarter plans. What are the plans this quarter? What are the plans? Like, I just and I'm saying this also from someone who's in it, right? Who's in the education or who has eyes in it. So I can only imagine if I was a parent, I would know what to ask. I would know what to look for. I would know the key words, the buzzwords that people like to put in without telling you that they're exposing your child to. Fuck out of here, dog. Like, oh, I don't know. I just began so mad for these parents. Maybe I'm supposed to be their vessel. Maybe I'm supposed to be their vessel. We'll see, child. So yes, I really do think there's a pendulum swinging in the favor of the rhetoric that I spew, So I'm happy to see Missouri is restricting gender affirming care for minors. Minors should not be quick to getting these life altering surgeries. It is not safe. And it's what typically happens is you're just fucking gay, right? And that's okay, right? Just be that. But you don't have to now cut your dick off. You don't have to, because you don't know by 30, like, damn, I really wanted children, right? And you grew up as a girl, and now you have this neo dick. Your vagina's gone, your ovaries are gone, your uterus is gone, and now you realize, oh my gosh, I would have loved to bore children. It's just like, just stop. Like, we don't. Anyway, child. M&Ms are making a comeback to their regular self, or not even making a comeback. They are back to their regular self. So, for some time now, M&Ms was this candy that have been usurped by the woke community. And they wanted to present this more inclusive aesthetic. So instead of the M&M, one of the M&Ms wore skinny high heels, had these eyelashes, and was just like, the stereotypical feminine woman. And as of late, that character has changed her heels changed her skinny heels to chunky heels, and she looks more androgynous and more like a lesbian, really. And so she just didn't look the same raunchy character that she once were. And so since the Super Bowl came out, there, with Super Bowl, there's so many different commercials that promote whatever is coming out, whatever. So M&M has recently decided to get back to their original spoke candy presentation. So they made the announcement and literally said, we're back. It's just so funny to me. So in January 2022, the company announced changes to the look of some characters, including the footwear of the female characters. The brown M&M switched from stilettos to chunky heels, and Green ditched her signature white go-go boots for a pair of cool, laid-back sneakers to reflect her effortless confidence. At the time, this caused saucy headlines, social media jokes, and even political commentary that the company had gone woke. an idea that Mars decided to run with. Over the past year, we have seen an unprecedented level of conversation, cementing M&M's as one of the world's most iconic brands. That level of talk value, irrespective of opinion, indicates people are interested in our brand and its values. The M&M's brand will always continue to bring the fun, laughter, entertainment with unwavering commitment to purpose. And let's see what else. Harkening back to yet another controversy regarding an all-female package of M&M's, which debuted in 2022, Mars also said that the brand is quite literally doubling down on our purpose-driven activities in celebration of the official return of the M&M spokes candies. The company says it's celebrating International Women's Day on March 8th by awarding 20 change-making women with 10,000 grants. Anyway, so they're bringing back their original look. So the chunky heel is now back to stilettos, pumps, and the cool laid back sneakers to reflect her effortless confidence is back to white go-go boots, which is great because, like, again, can we cut it out with the BS? So yeah, they're back for good according to this YouTube video. You see the classic M&Ms. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I we all grew up on M&Ms. I really enjoy the commercials that they had. There's one commercial in which the M&M was sneaking up on Santa, and then Santa's like, oh, they do exist, and then the M&M say back to Santa, he does exist. Right? And the fact that I remember it, it's cemented, you know? It was something that I grew up with in my childhood. It is one of those commercials that I just would always remember. So it's nostalgic. So it's good to see that they have decided to put their woke pie to the side and take some of this juice of reality and sip that bad boy. So God bless. So yes, again, so just like I'm saying, I'm seeing a shift in the tide, and things are surely moving to a level of sanity. Let's talk about this firing squad that may return as the execution style for death row inmates. And I don't know if I like this. Not even I don't know. I don't like this, actually. That is my stance. Not a I don't know. I'm not on the fence. No. I don't agree with this style of execution. This brings us back to days of no democracy, days of totalitarianism. Like, this is not a good idea. I understand you have many criminals on death row who are guilty of because I do recognize that there are criminals who are not guilty, or who was framed, or there was a technicality, whatever it is. But I'm talking about the ones who are guilty for the crime and who are serving time and who are on death row, right? Even so, I don't agree with this style of execution. It's just so immoral. And sure, I get the whole aspect of, well, what they did was immoral, right? You know, they raped, they killed, they sodomized it. I get that. That's disgusting too, which is why they're on death row. But to have a firing squad as if this is Nazi Germany, is this fucking Nazi Germany? Like, this is not a way to settle things anymore. Like, we're not in fucking wild, wild west. So Brian Kohlberger is awaiting a preliminary hearing in June after being charged with murdering 4 University of Idaho students. Remember that guy who studied or stalked that woman and ended up going into the house where she was with a few of her friends and killed 4 of them. And he happened to be a professor, actually, and he was studying like serial killers, something like that. So Brian Kohlberger could face death by firing squad if he is convicted and sentenced to death for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students, and lethal drugs are not available. So they're saying is, if there happened to be no stock, like why would there suddenly not be any stock of lethal drugs on the date when he is supposed to be executed? Like, how convenient is that, huh? So if they happen to have no more lethal drugs available, Brian Kohlberger could be faced to death by firing squad. So literally standing on some deserted land in the desert, actually, and then being shot to death. Like, what is this? Prosecutors have yet to say if they will seek the death penalty in his case, but legal experts have told Newsweek it is all but certain they will. And this is a method that the Governor Brad Little, he is poised to sign a bill allowing this method if the state is unable to obtain lethal injection drugs. The bill was passed recently with a veto-proof majority. Comes as Idaho has been struggling to secure lethal drugs and carry out death sentences. But why is that? Like, why they're not able to carry out these death sentences? Like, what? Anyway, so with firing squad, when you think about firing squads, you guys, like, firing squad, death penalty. Let's see. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, I didn't know there was an information center. Oh, Lord. A national nonprofit that offers statistics on capital punishment. The 4 other states that authorize death by firing squad are Mississippi, Oklahoma, Utah, and South Carolina. Since 1976, there have been only 3 executions carried out by firing squad. Child, I don't think it's a great idea. Because, you know, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, what's next? Are we going to have public hangings back in a legal way? I'm not talking about lynchings, right? Well, I guess I am talking about lynchings, but like, lynchings was more so, you know, I mean, there were so many different reasons for lynchings. I mean, it all roots in racism, but it was also done in a time when it was legal to be racist, right? I'm not saying, anyway, the point is, when you have these like legalized hangings back in a way that is protected by the law, I find that to be a little like, you might as well pack up your guns and start protecting yourself for what is to come, because it but it will get worse. Like, this could spiral down to more totalitarianism ways of living. Let's see. The image of gunmen in a row firing in unison at a condemned prisoner may conjure up a bygone, less enlightened era. But the idea of using firing squads is making a comeback. And so I just, child, this is horrible. Look at the status of firing squad. When was the last execution by firing squad? Ronnie Lee Gardner was executed at Utah State Prison on June 18, 2010 for killing an attorney during a courthouse escape attempt. Gardner sat in a chair, sandbags around him, and a target pinned over his heart. 5 prison staffers, drawn from a pool of volunteers, fired from 25 feet away with a .30 caliber rifle. Gardner was pronounced dead 2 minutes later. This shit's sick. It's sick. It's sicko. We start to normalize killings in a just an unjust way, things will get even worse for us, for civilians. Because when we say, "Oh well, he's a criminal. He did what he did. He deserves it." I'm not saying he doesn't deserve death penalty. I'm just saying there's a manner in which one should be killed. Decorum still matters, even in death. Even in death. So when we are quick to be like, "Oh, hang him by the neck," oh, how quick are you gonna say it to the next person who happens to rub you the wrong way? "Oh, I don't really trust that guy. I wouldn't mind if he gets hung by the neck." It's just things people with humanity. We can't trust human beings for the most part. You have people just immediately fickle, quick to find reasons to plot against you, and then everyone around you is susceptible to get got. And now all of a sudden, you're a liability. So let's see. I just hope this doesn't bleed into other countries or bleed into other states in America specifically, because other countries has a whole different ball game. Okay, let's move forward. So up next here we have LA School District has a 3-day strike, and there's some updates to that. So I was following this story closely because I'm just very interested in how strikes go. I remember being younger and my dad would participate in a strike with his job. With his job. And it was something that was done yearly or every other year. It was well orchestrated. People would come together with picket signs, do the damn thing, and they got what they wanted. For the most part, from what I've gathered. And so seeing this strike take place, you see organization on another level. You see confidence and also determination coming together. Let's see. Why is the strike only for 3 days? So the Local 99 said that it was calling for a limited strike this week, specifically to protest unfair negotiating tactics by the school district. Under the law, the union said this type of strike comes with protections for workers who walk out, but it must have a set time limit and cannot be open-ended. So that's why it's 3 days, which I do appreciate, right? Because the teachers and other staff members involved in this strike do have the security of still having a job, right? Still having benefits and still having the security of that, right? And so though you are striking against your job, but no, you're striking against different methods and practices that you are not in agreement with, that you are seeing fit as to what is blocking your quality of life, right? So I support that. I think it's important to always find your voice and use it effectively. And I'm not trying to get fired, right? And I'm not trying to, get fired for speaking up. I think there should be a way to go about it without being accosted or having my job, being accosted for. So anyway, so that's the reason why for the 3 days. You only have a set of 3 days to make your strike, and hopefully in that time you get what you wanted. Now it's been a few days since I read this article, or since this happened, and I know there was an updated status for this, but let me just talk about specifically what are the workers seeking. The workers are seeking a 30% overall raise, an additional $2 an hour increase for the lowest paid workers, and other increases in compensation. Local 99 said its workers made an average income of 25,000 a year. My God, today. And in LA, at that, LA is the second largest school district in the country. New York is the first. I had to look that up. I'm like, what's the first? And so for them to be as large as they are and to have workers made an average, what does that even mean? Local 99 said its workers made an average, that's an average income of 25,000 a year? Huh? I don't know. Is this real? Because what? Maybe they're saying workers like support staff, which is still horrible, but like maybe that's a janitorial pay. I don't know. But I don't know any teachers making, I don't know. Unless they're counting like TAs. Because TAs, I remember before I got a lead position job, I was making less than 25. But I wasn't a lead teacher, but I was doing a lot of work. And so until I was able to get promoted, which I did, and was finally starting to see more money, that was more of an opportunity to kind of like, okay, let me just like stack my money or whatever and do the best that I could to get by. But yeah, just 25,000. My God. Let's see. So what's the update? Let me see. What is the update on the LA teacher strike? So a deal was reached after strike, which shuttered Los Angeles schools for 3 days. A tentative contract agreement was reached Friday between the Los Angeles Unified School District and its support staff following a massive 3-day strike. So a tentative contract agreement. So were they happy with the agreement? Is it still in process? What is the 411? Let's see. So Service Employees International Union, which represents about 30,000 LA teachers, teacher aides, bus drivers, custodians, and others. Got it. Okay, so this is a strike specifically for support staff. Okay, so the average of support staff was 25,000. Okay. Yes, that's low, but that's not abnormal. Okay, I thought they were saying teachers or even TAs was making that. I'm like, God. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it did say that actually. Teacher aides. Okay, yeah, so that's support staff. So support staff are people who support teachers, support administrators, just kind of support with the logistics of every day. Okay, so their work really do matter. They're just as important as teachers, as principals, etc. So don't get that twisted. So yeah, a teacher aide, bus drivers, custodians, and other support staff, they were the center. I'm sure maybe other teachers, like lead teachers, supported them also. But this strike was specifically for teacher aides, bus drivers, custodians, and other support staff. Announced Friday that the agreement includes a 30% wage increase and a retroactive pay increase of between $4,000 and $8,000. The increase will raise the average annual salary of its workers from about $25,000 to $33,000. Okay, look at that. 3-day strike will do. I'm really happy to see that. Also confirmed the agreement in a statement, adding that it will bring the school district's minimum wage up to $22.52 per hour. That's great. Keep it going. What else? The 3-day strike with teachers joining the picket lines in solidarity. Good. Shutting down the instruction of the district's 500,000 students during the walkout. Mayor Karen Bass stepped in as a mediator Wednesday after District Superintendent Alberto M. Carvalho accused the union of refusing to negotiate. So she was thanked for her support and leadership in facilitating negotiations, and they worked to a great resolution. I'm really happy to hear that. The strike put a spotlight on the issue. They were notoriously underpaid. That is unacceptable, especially to be living in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities in America. I don't care what position you are. Like, janitors deserve just as much of a sustainable lifestyle as do more, quote unquote, respectable professions experience. And that's not, it shouldn't have to matter. Like, I'm not saying look, all I'm saying is $25,000 didn't cut it. And I'm glad they got what they needed and what they deserved. And I'm glad that teachers stood with them in solidarity. And shit, it was a 3-day off. Get something going, okay? That's always good. If you're like, what about the children? Don't we care about the children in your school? Shut up. Because when it was COVID, y'all didn't want to have schools, right? Y'all didn't want to have schools. It's hurting if we go back to school, right? Because it was so effective having online learning. Kids definitely tune in for that. No, kids needed to be in the fucking schools, but because of this woke ass agenda that's infiltrating our students, our kids, our leaders in so many ways, you had many kids not in school, not learning, falling behind, and trying to play catch up now that we're back in the facilities. So, God bless. I'm really happy. These are great newses. These are great news stories. So shout out to that. Speak up, and you get your shit across. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every listen. Do tell a friend to tell a friend, and I will check in with you all next time. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. If you liked it, leave a review, share, and subscribe. God bless.